From the absorbent mind to the innovative mind. Today, I'm going to take you through a story, which is of resilience, the Montessori Story of Resilience. And as an elementary guide, it's only natural that I begin by sharing the etymology. Resilience comes from a Latin word, resiliere, and if you break it apart, you will see two tiny words fall out of it. Re meaning back, and celiere meaning to leap. And you will also see the root word celiere in the word salmon, the fish that doesn't drift with the current, but hurls its whole body upstream and makes the obstacle the very reason for the leap. This word, resilience, was never about endurance. It was never about gritting one's teeth and waiting for the difficulty to pass. It was about energy, movement, the living, muscular, chosen response of being pushed down. And what Dr. Montessori beautifully understood, without probably ever using this word resilience, is that you cannot manufacture this response in a young child. You cannot teach it in a lesson or instill it through a lecture. You can only build the right kind of environment in which it becomes a natural way a child meets the world. That is what the Montessori journey is. An 18-year architecture of resilience, layered, deliberate. It's there in each stage, deepening what the past stage built. Let us walk this together, stage by stage. The birth to 3 years, one of the most fascinating stages of the child's life, where deep cognitive work happens. I'm going to share a picture. In fact, it's a series of 3 pictures, but they all say one story. She stands, she falls, she feels the fall fully, and then gets back up. No one helped her, but somewhere between the floor and the standing, she made the only decision resilience ever asks from us: once more. This child will not remember this moment, but her body will carry it forward into every hard thing that follows, long after the memory is gone. This is physical resilience in its purest form. That the body can be trusted through a fall and back to standing. A young mother once shared her experience with her 14-month-old, and this is a picture of that. She shared how this entire experience that she had with her 14-month-old completely altered the way she looked at her daughter. This child had been trying to fix this piece into this block for almost 11 minutes. She had turned it, tilted it, set it down, picked it up again. She had tried multiple times. Her face was almost flushed. It had started to show signs of frustration. And then suddenly, the piece fell through the hole. And a large, big, huge smile appeared on the child's face. Now, this mother realized that if she had interrupted the child or helped her in the process, she would have taken away a very important deposit from her, the resilience deposit. The mother silently communicated something that the child couldn't yet hear, which said, "You are capable, and I believe in you, so I'm going to wait." This is emotional resilience, being laid down right there, not taught, but absorbed. Absorbed through the absorbent mind. The child takes in the emotional grammar of the adult around them, just like how they take in language. Now let's look at the environment. The low shelf, the child-size environment, these are not aesthetic choices. They are resilient infrastructure. Giving the child agency over their own body and the world from a young age. Every time a child reaches out to a shelf themselves, cleans a spillage on their own, they are making a resilience deposit. They do not yet know the word resilience, but they know exactly what it feels like. Let's look at the 3 to 6 age, the cornerstone of our work. At 3, consciousness arrives. The child knows that they are trying. They know and they can feel the effort. They feel frustration. They feel for the very first time what it means to be stuck. And into this new conscious struggle, the Montessori environment places something extraordinary. Materials that tell the truth. The cylinder that doesn't fit, the tower that wobbles, the water that spills. The work itself is honest, patient, and non-judgmental. Not reflecting back exactly where the child is and inviting them always to try again. This is sensorial resilience. The confidence built through the hands. The child learns that the world is readable. And when something goes wrong, it is information, not judgment. That wrong is not a verdict, it's a direction. This makes failure ordinary, even interesting. The child who has spent 3 years learning from materials that never shame them arrives at difficulty with curiosity rather than dread. And alongside this sensorial resilience, something much deeper is being built. Montessori called this the will. Now, we've all heard about the will and how the development of the will is the secret of this age. Inner resilience is the resilience of the will. The capacity to direct your own effort toward a chosen end. To choose the work that is hard. To finish what we once began. Not because someone is watching, but because the work itself is worth completing. This child who has practiced controlling her own frustration while buttoning a frame has done something that will serve her for the rest of her life. Not because buttons matter, but because the internal movement she has made from frustration to renewed effort is the same movement resilience will ask her at the age of 8, at the age of 15, even at the age of 45. That decision, made hundreds of times across years, is the muscle of inner resilience. And like all muscles, it grows only when it is used and exercised well. Moving to the next and my favorite stage, the 6 to 12 years. At 6, something fundamentally shifts. The child who was absorbed in the physical world now turns outwards towards the society, towards justice, towards the vast question of how everything is connected and where they belong in it. 3 new kinds of resilience emerges from here. What you see in this picture is silent resilience. There's a child sitting by himself, chin in hand, a blank page in front of him, and a reference chart to one side. Not doing nothing, but actually thinking. If you notice in the picture on the right, he's in conversation with his friends who've all started the work. But then you see him, you observe that he's just there sitting with that paper. This kind of thinking that looks like it has no visible output yet, that looks from outside like a stillness, but is actually far from it. The capacity to sit with not knowing yet, to resist the panic to fill an empty page, to wait for the right answer rather than fill the space with a convenient one, this is silent resilience. The willingness to remain at the threshold of a difficult thing without fleeing it. Now, in a world that really fills every silence with noise, every gap with stimulation, every moment of uncertainty with distraction, I think this capacity is becoming quite rare. And it is quite an essential one. And we know how the elementary children love to work in groups. So here we have a lot of our elementary children showing off all their work, their great work, which they're so proud of. But what would have gone behind this great work would have been lots of discussions, tons of agreements and disagreements, lots of coming together and lots of falling out too. Days of conversations, days of chasing a question, days of being with that project until they see the end of it. And in all of this, they have to accomplish a very important thing, to be able to work together in collaboration. The children here are practicing intellectual resilience. Every time the work pushes them back, they push forward, and the resilience muscle grows. Intellectual resilience is the capacity to hold an uncertain idea long enough to think it through, to stay in the difficulty of a concept rather than retreating to the nearest comfortable answer. And then one of the most unexpected form of resilience emerges. Cosmic resilience. You see a group of children building the blank timeline of life. Now, the cosmic resilience is an amazing capacity to hold an uncertain idea long enough to think it through, but also to hold personal difficulty within a larger perspective of humanity. Now, the great lessons that we offer in the elementary environment give children this horizon. The story of the universe, 13.8 billion years laid out on a timeline so long that they have to walk along it to really take it all in. The story of life, the story of human beings who appear in that timeline in the last centimeter of the road. I remember a 9-year-old once walked along this timeline, reached the end of the timeline, stood near that last centimeter and said, "We just got here." Something settles in a child who has received this lesson. Not that their difficulties will ever become small, but they become proportionate. They are held within a strong, vast universe which contains them without really crushing them. That, I think, is Montessori's most unique gift to children. And then we move on to an age which Montessori referred as the second birth, the adolescents. The stage where resilience is most needed and most fragile simultaneously. The body is transforming, the identity is dissolving and reforming. The young person is asking the most destabilizing question of all: who am I? Into this, Montessori placed not a curriculum, but real work. The Erdkinder, a working community, real labor with real consequences. Now, let me share the story of our adolescents' journey. So, our group of adolescents went on a journey to transform all the waste paper that we had in school into reusable, printable, recycled paper as part of their production and exchange program. They worked on this first with their hands, as you can see in the video and in the pictures. They actually used the paper, they made it into pulp, and then they dried it out. They saw how it all worked. Until one day, they wanted to automate this process. So they spent days exploring a variety of ideas, tinkering with different kinds of tools, like the one that you see here. They actually put together a little machine that they thought would help them in automating this process. Well, they had built this machine from scratch. They had used different kinds of parts. You can see how there is a vacuum cleaner, and there is a cycle chain, and the levers of a cycle that they have used to build this machine. They had put the paper pulp and they had turned on the engine. The machine whirred into action and had started the process of sieving, pressing, and drying and heating the pulp into paper. The adolescents waited for quite a few minutes. And then their first recycled paper from just pulp to fully automated machine paper emerged. Well, the story doesn't end here. They surely had cracked the code to go from a manual to automated paper building process. However, there was a fundamental flaw. One sheet of paper took 60 minutes to produce. They all got thinking, and they thought deep and hard, until suddenly one of them said, "This won't work. We got to find a way to get that machine to work faster and quicker. Look at." And now they're working on their second machine, trying to find a solution to this problem. Creative resilience is what you saw in the paper recycling machine. The adolescents who built it, ran it, discovered that it took 60 minutes to produce one sheet of paper. Instead of collapsing into disappointment, asked the better question: how do we make it faster? This is the precise moment where resilience becomes innovation. Now, bouncing back to where they started, leaping forward into the next version of the thing, the obstacle absorbed, digested, and transformed into a new direction. This is what Dr. Montessori understood at a very deep level. When a child meets limitation in the environment, a puzzle that doesn't fit, a tower that keeps falling, a shelf just beyond their reach, they are not being failed by the environment, they are being educated by it. The limitation is the lesson, and the resistance is the teacher. When the child is trusted to struggle and recover on their own terms, they don't simply return to where they were. They return differently to a different place altogether. That movement from obstacle to adaptation, from difficulty to invention, is not resilience followed by innovation. It is resilience becoming innovation. At this point, I would like to invite Pavan to share the Mentimeter screen, please. We've heard a lot about the different kinds of resilience. It'll be really wonderful if you can take a few minutes. We'll wait till the screen appears. You can use your mobile phone to scan this QR code, and as soon as you do that, you're going to see this question appear on your screen. Which type of resilience do you most directly build in your daily practice? And all the options: physical resilience, emotional resilience, sensorial, cosmic, intellectual, creative, all of those would appear on your mobile phone screen. And you can select an option from there. You can select more than one option, Pavan. Yeah, I think it says can select multiple options. So this is a small reflection of the work that we do, and it will help us, understand this concept a little more. Wow. I can see a lot in the intellectual and creative resilience. Wow. Yeah, intellectual resilience is by far, and physical, emotional resilience. Yes, physical and emotional resilience. It's amazing to see all these responses, how everybody is thinking so differently and thinking in such a varied way. Yeah, Catherine, thank you. All resilience, that's true. Yeah, when we work in a Montessori environment, that's what we do. We end up supporting all these different resilience, helping the child build it. And I think building it for ourselves as guides too, when we work with children. Yes. Great. Wonderful. Wow. So So many people are talking about the emotional resilience. Lovely. I'd like to invite Pavan to take over at this point and speak more about innovation.
You have heard how Montessori nurtures resilience. Now let's see, how does Montessori nurture innovation? Let's see what has Dr. Montessori spoken about innovation. The children of today will make all the discoveries of tomorrow. All the discoveries of mankind will be known to them, and they will improve what has been done and make fresh discoveries. They must make all the improvements in houses, cities, communication, methods of production, etc., that are to be made. The future generation must not only know how to do what we can teach them, they must be able to go a step further. Let's look at how Montessori nurtures innovation, how Montessori nurtures innovative mindset and skill set. Montessori pedagogy lays a very strong foundation for innovation through exploration, how the pedagogy allows children to explore, experiment, make their own discoveries, how they learn things all by themselves with didactic material, how every material has inbuilt control of error, how it nurtures strong analytical reasoning and imagination, which are some prerequisites, fundamentals of innovation. The independence, the freedom offered to children, how right from 6 years, children start doing research. Every concept they learn, how the guides strive to see how we can apply all their learning, which leads to materialized abstraction. Each of these lead to a solid foundation of that innovative mind. You're all here to know how our adolescents built a real satellite and send it to space. Let me share the premise which made this possible. We believe that children are not just capable of learning, they are capable of applying what they have learned. And in that process of application, they can design, construct, create, innovate, and invent. And not someday, right now, right here, while at school. This premise led us to explore what will it take for us as guides and mentors for children to build, create, and innovate. This journey led us to figuring out that if we can nurture innovative mindset and skill set, then they can surely create, innovate, and invent right now, right here. We nurture different kinds of thinking. Innovative mindset is a function of multiple different kinds of thinking coming together, and a lot of different kinds of thinking are nurtured in our Montessori pedagogy. And we have added few more structured layers of activities and programs to nurture different kinds of thinking, like design thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, lateral thinking, divergent, convergent, innovative thinking, and many, many more. And parallelly, we nurture that innovative skill set, and how Dr. Montessori, 120 years back, figured out the importance of nurturing all kinds of skill set around hands. So we further nurture it through getting children to do a lot of sketching using complex tools. They build 3D models, science models, which lead to building functional prototypes. And finally, they get to build real working models. We all talk about concrete to abstract. After children doing enough of concrete work, which leads to abstraction, children are also capable of abstract to concrete. Innovation happens in this direction, from abstract to concrete. But before that can happen, they need very solid foundation of concrete work, which can lead to abstraction. So innovation cycle works with like this, there's a thought, there's an idea, and children think and further expand the idea in their mind. And then the idea further gets expanded in conversation, in discussion with their peer group, with mentors and guides. And then the idea can further be expanded when they are writing their idea, which can further be expanded when they are sketching. After sketching, the idea can further be elaborated, further be stretched, further made it into reality through building a prototype, a working prototype, a working model. And once they build the prototype, it needs to be tested. And that's where the control of error with which children have been relooking at their own work, correcting their own work, leads to this testing. And they go through these several cycles of thinking, discussing, prototyping, testing before some real innovation happens. He does it with his hands by experience, first in play and then through work. The hands are the instrument of man's intelligence. So everything we have built is built around this philosophy, this pedagogy. So we designed an innovation lab where we could equip children with a lot of tools and a lot of science models, and every work they do in the environment, when they want to do any follow work, they have access to the innovation lab with all the tools and material to express all their ideas. They can make charts. They can also go and build some of these 3D models. So these are three children after bee pollination presentation decided to build this model.
Hello, my name is Jera. My name is Ashwin. And my name is Pran. So as you see, we made a bee pollination project as it was a follow-up for our presentation bee pollen. So these two bees over here are the drones, these two are the workers, and this is the queen. So the drone bees and the worker bees collect nectar from the flowers and keep it in the honeycomb. And now a small demo of how worker bees work. We kept the nectar back. Now they are going down to collect more nectar. Thank you.
For every material in the elementary program, our children would have built a board game out of it. Their action word board game, time zone board game, math board games, anything they learn in geography, geometry gets converted into a real board game and really engaging games. There are a lot of projects we do with children to nurture empathy. So this was one of the activities we did with our elementary children, where we introduced a pair of scissors. Now, you would have all realized most of our pair of scissors are designed for right-handed. So we showed that pair of scissors to children and asked them to check for which hand is it designed. Is it designed for right hand, left hand, or for ambidextrity? And children could clearly realize that it's designed for right-handed. And then they started looking at every object in the environment to see if it is designed for right-handed, left-handed. Someone got the glass and said, this is designed for ambidextrity. And then there was one child who got a ruler, and on the centimeter side, it was designed for right-handed. And it's very difficult for a left-handed person to draw. And then the other child said, can I go to the innovation lab and make a ruler for left-handed? This child went and designed this ruler for left-handed, and in few minutes, everyone else went to the innovation lab, and there were 17 rulers for the left-handed people, and we only had one left-handed child back then. So this child was gifted with 17 left-handed rulers. So this is not just about design, it is about empathy. It is about being able to put oneself in other person's shoe. This is a very interesting timeline our team has put together on what can be the various tools which can be introduced to hands from 0 to 6. These are some of the tools you can introduce between 6 to 9, 9 to 12, 12 to 18. Biomimicry is mimicking nature to innovate. So we have set up a small biomimicry hive where children learn about innovations inspired by nature. So you can see the ant hill on the left side, ant mound, and there are a lot of engineers who have used this design to build innovative building for air circulation. Children mimic a lot of things which are in nature as it is. So we introduced some nests and children redesigned the nest as it is, and that led to a lot of creative, innovative nest designs. We have shown children's different stages of spider web that led to children coming up with loads of spider web designs. When we offered these, it was very, very promising. Children kept coming back, wanting to do more, wanting to create more, wanting to build more. So to further actualize their potential to innovate and invent, we wanted to offer something where they can go a little deeper and give them that opportunity to build, create, and innovate. So we set up drone lab. Why drones? Because anything which flies fascinates human beings, and the fascination for children is 100x more. So we offered drone program, which gave us further opportunity to introduce multiple engineering streams, multiple disciplines like aeronautical engineering, mechanical, electronic engineering, design thinking. And this led to loads and loads of interesting ideas. We asked children one question. Imagine if your drone can do anything which you want. What would you like your drone to do? And children came up with hundreds of ideas. Every idea, they convert it into a real prototype. You can see a very complex design here in this slide. This design of drone was built by an 8-year-old, and he wanted to build this safety drone because his mother comes home late night because she works in evening shift, and he wanted to build this drone which can travel with his mother from the office to home and bring her home very safely. When we saw a lot of these interesting designs, we approached an intellectual property firm, and this firm found that a lot of our children's designs were very unique. And in 2020, we have applied for 5 patents in drone designs. I'll take you through what some of our adolescents have also built. They wanted to build a car which can transport their sports material from the storeroom to the ground. So they did a lot of divergent thinking, came up with a lot of ideas, then they converged their ideas. Finally, they came up with 2 designs, a football design and a rugby design. They tried to come up with various openings of this design of the car. They did the mapping from the storeroom to the play area. They did the weighing of all the payload, all the sports material. They did the budgeting and procurement, and then they built their own autonomous vehicle. I'll show you an interesting video of how this autonomous vehicle works.
Centimeters before the way, before the obstacle.
So the video which you saw, it's a 2-year-old video. They are constantly upgrading this autonomous vehicle from stage 1 to stage 5. Stage 5 would be where it can go from point A to point B. And if there are any obstacles, it can take a detour and reach that stage. Now, what led to the satellite? You have seen how our children, when they were in elementary, designed drones, applied for patent, they built autonomous vehicle. And our role, our job as guides is to constantly challenge our children. And in that pursuit to challenge them further led to this thought and idea when we were interacting with children. We all said, how about sending a real satellite? Without knowing anything about it, we just jumped into it. We said, let's figure out, and we set up a space lab, designed space program, invited a lot of people to support us and collaborate with us. And our adolescents are here on this call today who will take you through their journey of how they built satellite and how they sent it to space. Let's invite our adolescents who are on this call. Over to you. Over to you. Go ahead, Umayan.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. We are the adolescents from the Blue Blocks Montessori School, and today we're going to share our journey of the CubeSat.
So, how our journey began? It began when we started reading the space chapters in our textbooks, and we got curious about how would we know if all of this information is true. And that question led us to brainstorm about ways to verify if all this information was true. Eventually, we came up with the idea of building a CubeSat.
So, what exactly is a CubeSat? A CubeSat is like a satellite, but a bit different. So, we chose to build a CubeSat because number one, it's easier to build. Number two, it takes lesser time to build than a standard satellite. And number three, it's more cost effective. And the special thing is so 1 unit of the CubeSat, it's called 1 unit. It always comes in 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters cube. And you can stack up to how many ever units you want, like 1, 2, 3, 6, and etc. These are just some examples that we saw at the Triple IT campus in Hyderabad. And we can add various different types of sensors, which we'll talk about later.
Throughout this journey, collaboration played a key role. In order to get our prototype to space, we collaborated with a Hyderabad-based startup company called Take Me to Space. We gave them our prototype. They took it to a lot of rigorous space-grade testing, and finally, we were ready for space.
So the prototype sensor we used 3 sensors. So one of them is for accelerometer and gyroscope, and 2 other are for magnetometer and temperature sensor. We made a small working demo model. Yeah. So it's a prototype model. It can detect the temperature and humidity from anywhere. There's a Bluetooth controller which can detect it.
These are the exact names of the sensors we used in our prototype and the final satellite.
We had a lot of hypotheses, so we wanted to test them out. So we made a prototype with the help of our mentors, and then we placed this prototype on the ground to get the data from the sensors inside the prototype. And then with the help of a drone, we flew the prototype into the air and then collected the data which the various sensors inside the prototype gave us.
So we had hypothesis with three sensors: temperature, accelerometer, and humidity. So for the temperature sensor, our hypothesis was that the temperature would be lower in the air. But surprisingly, this was proven wrong. And in the air, the average data was 24 degrees Celsius. On the ground, it was 24 degrees Celsius. And in the air, it was 28.5 degrees Celsius. For our accelerometer, our hypothesis was the coordinates would be stationary and constant on the ground and random and moving around in the air. This hypothesis was proven correct. On the ground, the data was stable, and in the air, it was highly variable and random. For humidity, our hypothesis was that the humidity would be lower in the air. This was once again proven correct. In the ground, it was 47%, and in the air, it was only 33% humidity.
So we have been invited to various events like our own press conference, a trip to Mumbai, Norway, and Mexico. First, we went to our press conference where many news channels asked us many questions. Some were difficult and made us think, but most of them were very easy. Second, we went to Mumbai. In Mumbai, we attended an event called IMF, Indian Montessori Foundation, where we presented how in kindergarten we would work with a pink tower. Then in elementary, we would work with cubing material. And last, in our kinder, we worked with a CubeSat. We noticed one thing that was similar in all these three. That was that the last cube of the pink tower, the 10th cube in the cubing material, and the CubeSat were the same size. Isn't that cool? It's like a transition between SI and Earth Kinder. We were also invited to Norway, but unfortunately, since we had important exams, we couldn't go. So our founder, Pavan sir, represented us. We are also invited to Mexico, and we're looking forward to going there.
So while building the CubeSat, we had faced many challenges like understanding how the sensors work and how to analyze the data we get from the sensors and what sensors to use. Because we had never worked with sensors in such depth before, but with the help of our mentors, we got through it and made it ready for space.
I'm going to be sharing our experience in ISRO. So when we got in the car, we were headed to the ISRO premises. We were both happy and nervous. We were happy that our work would go to space, but we were also nervous that what might happen in the rocket. When we reached the ISRO premises, we had a look at the museum, which was both fun and educating. And then everything changed when we stepped into the launch gallery. Everybody was shouting, India, India. It was almost like a cricket stadium packed with fans. And then the T-10 countdown began. My heart was pounding. And finally, the rocket ignited and it roared through the sky. And then, after some time, we got unfortunate news that the rocket couldn't make it. It failed in its third stage and our satellite could not deploy. But Ranak sir, who helped us build this satellite, was completely chill about it. He was not sad. He was just answering everybody's questions. And our founder, Pavan sir, told us that there's something even more bigger coming forward. So now that you know the story, have a look at this video.
We are inside the Mission Control Center of Sriharikota. You can see the screens behind. So we are quite a few of us in the gallery here.
surprise launch. We are launching 2 CubeSats this October. So as you know, the original CubeSat, the rocket has failed to launch our CubeSat. But giving up was way far away from us. So we decided to build another CubeSat, which was named SPB2. So SPB2 has the same features as SPB1, like it has the same shape, the same sensors, and it's like a ditto copy of SPB1. But then it will be launched through SpaceX. So everyone meet SPB2, which will now be molded and shaped by our hands once again and be sent to space.
As my friend said, we're launching 2 CubeSats this October. So the second CubeSat is going to have a completely new design. This is because the CubeSat, the module in the CubeSat is going to have a 1 degree of movement. Now I'm going to show you a little video about it. Now, how do you think the module is going to launch? So under the module, there's going to be a spring, which is going to spring up, and that's how the structure is going to get deployed. There's also going to be a micro wire that's going to start burning, and that's how it's going to get deployed. Now on your left-hand side, there's a cube, which is obviously a CubeSat. And the yellow flap is going to be the structure / module that's going to get deployed. On your right-hand side, there are 2 graphs. In the first graph, there's a red dotted line, which is the energy level of the micron wire. So as the energy level increases, the micron wire starts burning, and that's how the module can get deployed. Now the blue line indicates the angle, the degrees. So at start, when the module is inside the CubeSat, it has 0 degrees. But when it starts to get deployed, the degrees increases. So that means the angle increases. That's what it indicates. In the second graph, the orange dotted line also shows the energy level rising of the nitro wire while it's getting deployed. But here, the green line showcases the energy level of the spring. So at first, when the module is inside the CubeSat, the energy level is at its highest. But then when the module starts to get deployed, the energy level decreases because it dissipates. Now, here's another video giving an example of how the module would get deployed. So all of you may think that this is rocket science, because it is. Now I'm going to show you a model of how the module is going to get deployed. So it's going to be like this. It's like CubeSat, and that's the module. And it's going to stay here. And then it's going to come out like this. It's going to press.
In the start of our journey, we were kind of doubtful about whether we would be able to understand each and every aspect and concept of the CubeSat. But gradually, we realized that if we set our mind to it, we can achieve it.
During the launch, we felt extremely proud of ourselves and our friends. We are also grateful towards the school, our founders, and our mentors who helped us throughout the journey of building the CubeSat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Munira and Pavan, and thank you to the students who have showed us their amazing, amazing work. Again, I want to repeat, if you have any questions, write them in the chat. We've already collected some. You can already see all the encouraging comments in the chat. I think everyone is just as inspired as I am. Someone's asking, is it even real? I think we all have that same sentiment. But I'll start with a question for Munira or Pavan, whoever can answer it best from the chat. So someone asked about residential life. They asked, residential life is a fundamental component of the development at adolescents in a Montessori setting. Is there residential life in the social organization of Blue Blocks School for adolescents? If not, then why?
Right now we don't have, but very soon we shall surely have the residential program as well. Yeah. And
Okay.
that would surely get children to do that, go through that grind, put maximum effort, and that's a very, very important factor for them to be connected with the earth and for their valorization. Yes.
Thank you, Pavan. Munira, I thought it was very cool how you kind of did the interconnection with all the resiliences. And I think in this age of so many distractions, it's even hard for us adults. So how do you foster, I think specifically, silent resilience?
Thank you for that question, Renee. I think this idea of silent resilience is always there in the Montessori environment. It gets instilled in us when we learn and understand more about observation. The unobtrusive observation that we have all learned as part of our training, and that being able to sit back and not really jump into action or trying to solve the problems for children is a great way to practice this silent resilience even for ourselves. So I think this is one of those resiliences that when you are practicing it for yourself, you automatically end up nurturing it in children. So yes, I use observation as a tool for that.
Okay, thank you. And so now another question is, in this world of the news and social media that are all very emotionally testing, how does resilience come into that with you and in the school, and how do you just foster it in?
Pavan, would you like to take this?
Go ahead.
That's a very thought-provoking question, Renee. And I think one of the reasons why we wanted to do, when we got together and we chose resilience as a topic was because of what's happening in the world today. And we hope and pray that things get resolved. But one of the things that we have seen is that the human race, humanity, is one of the most resilient races. We've been there for so many years, right? And all those stories of humanity, the way the human being has approached life, the way they have overcome challenges, these stories are the ones that we constantly tell children. And in the telling of those stories, we end up nurturing the idea of resilience, from the past, from remembering everybody that has gone before us. So yes, that's one of the ways we nurture it.
Thank you. Pavan, you spoke about innovation. Can you tell us what you think is the biggest barrier to innovation in education, specifically in your school, and then how do you navigate it?
The only barrier I see, Rini, is the adult. It's our own prejudices, preconceived notions of what they are capable of, who they are, what they can and what they can't. So every statement which comes from an adult's mouth can be a barrier or can nurture that innovation. So I only see adults as a true barrier, really. Otherwise, like they're designed to be innovative. They're born to innovate.
Yeah, and so how do you create this environment where students feel safe to fail and then so they feel safe to innovate?
So, I mean, we mostly celebrate failure than success. like for us, every failure is just a data point. Like we have lots of interesting videos where we capture the failure, like what Munira shared in terms of, they built the machine and disappointed that it's only one paper an hour. So like when, we also have Sanjay and Sansri here who just graduated 2 weeks back. When the rocket lost its trajectory really in between stage 3 and 4, they were upset. But seeing these scientists there, the entire ISRO scientist community upset, for them, their heart went out for the scientists that, that's like 10 to 15 years of work which large community of scientists have put together. And our work was just few months old. So it's like this journey is full of failures.
Yeah.
And for us, there's no failure. Every stage of failure is just a data point, and every stage of failure adds to the resilience.
Yeah. So I think that's a good segue about the children. I have two questions in the chat for the students. So the first one is, what was your biggest source of inspiration in this work?
So our biggest source of inspiration, actually, like we had like many sources of inspiration. So as Montessori children, like every single material we work with has become a source of inspiration for us, from a simple wire to the actual opportunity to go into the mission control room, which we had the rare opportunity. And the biggest source of inspiration was the project itself. Nothing could inspire us more than, the enthusiasm to work on the project itself, to actually, for one simple period, just put aside everything for a moment and just work on the CubeSat. That enthusiasm itself was our biggest inspiration.
That's really nice. And another question is, what was your proudest moment of this journey?
So our proudest moment was, again, when we both we entered the spaceship like building, which was the mission control room. And then when we came to the door of the VVIP gallery and stepped into the red carpet, seriously, that was our proudest moment in the entire project, because there's this feeling that the VVIP gallery door opened just for us. So, and then we saw all the high-tech, classy equipment inside the mission control room. So that's when we actually felt a great sense of pride, and we were humbled at the same time by this enormous world which we just stepped into. So yeah, I can say that's our proudest moment in this entire journey.
That sounds really great. Just back to Pavan and Munira, there's a very interesting question in the chat about AI. So how do you create silent and intellectual resilience, avoiding learners to quickly rush towards AI for their answers, but to seek their own? I think the students can also jump in on this question since they are the subject of it.
Yeah, let's give them the opportunity, really.
Yeah.
Did you get the question, Sanjay?
Do you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Yes, of course. So how do you create silent and intellectual resilience, avoiding learners to quickly rush towards AI for their answers, but to seek their own?
So that's a very interesting question. So I won't say that we are born perfect children. Of course, we have influence of the world on us. We do sometimes have this urge to go into AI and look, but we also always hold our Montessori values in the highest. And every time we have that urge to go to AI and ask for answers, we know that we have to find answers on our own. Otherwise, what are we children for? What are we human for? So that simple moment of overcoming that urge, that is what brings the silent resilience in us. And that's how we work.
That's great. Do you have anything to add, Pavan and Munira? Or
So one of the things I would like to add, I mean, there's no way to beat that answer, but just to add to it, one of the things that we have been very clear about right from a very young age when children come to Blue Blocks, that we get parents to agree that they will not expose their children to gadgets, at least till the age of 12. So no mobile phones, no laptops, nothing. So children at Blue Blocks are not exposed to any of the gadgets, movies, or any of the influences. Yes, there may have some influences as they keep growing up, but we want to really nurture the innovative skill set, the mindset, help them apply their imagination and use their reason to find answers, use their sense of research to go out there and get those answers themselves. So that has been quite an important pillar for us to be able to navigate the world of AI, at least for children.
Yeah. And Pavan, a more practical question for you. What are the basic essentials or needs or materials that you can start with in an innovation lab?
So I'm assuming this session will be recorded and will go live on YouTube at some point. So we have listed out a lot of tools there, Rini. So children, what I and Munira believe is have to work with a couple of hundreds of different kinds of tools and build any kind of science experiments, have basic material like cardboard, thermocol, clay, where we get children to build 3D models and science models. So that gets them to build any kind of prototype, functional prototypes eventually.
Just going back to I think, Munira, you talked about the gadgets or the lack of gadgets. I think that's very interesting for a lot of people to know more about. So also, I already see questions. So how do you convince parents to agree to this condition of not letting their children get exposed to gadgets till the age of 12, as they themselves are using these gadgets all the time? I think you can answer that, and maybe the students can tell us their perspective on this as well.
Yeah, for sure. So there are a couple of things that we do, help them understand the impact of gadgets, both neurologically as well as from a behavior perspective. And secondly, we kind of strong arm them and tell them that if that's a point that they're not agreeing on, then they'll have to look for another place for their children. So one of the things that we've been very clear about is that this is a condition that they must fulfill. And yes, it's not that everybody can follow it 100%, but we are all striving towards it, right? So yes, Sanjay and Sanshray, would you like to share your perspective on how it has been to have a gadget-free childhood?
So, like as Miss Munira said, as we grew up, obviously we had an influence of gadgets. But I personally, till I was 6 years old, I had never even seen a gadget in my life till I was 6. So, like, I can say how beneficial that has been because I'm sharing a personal thing. So, my mother, she never ever also showed rhymes to me while eating, while feeding me, which is very common amongst people's childhood nowadays. She always had these huge books with huge pictures, which used to show me while eating. So that simple thing changed my entire perspective as I kept growing. So even now, when I am working on laptops or mobiles, like I cannot connect with them because since my childhood, I was connected to learning. I was connected to books. I was connected to, actually having the zeal to find out things myself. So I can say that having a gadget-free childhood has truly changed how my adolescence has been till now. And I'm sure it will have a positive effect on me when I grow up. All thanks to Pavan sir and Miss Munira, who have actually educated our parents on this and actually gave us the privilege of having a gadget-free childhood.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Pavan.
And yeah, Rini and Yog, what I want everyone on this call also to get is, while the zero screen time is what we promote, same children while at school can still build real satellite and send to space. So what I want all educators, all parents to get is that you're not depriving them of anything. You're only helping them build every other skill set, mindset, thinking by not exposing to screen. On that foundation, we can build anything.
Yes, thank you so much. That's a great balance that you've proven there. But thank you all for the wonderful presentation and wonderful answers. I'll hand it over to Yoka for final remarks.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ren, and thank you to everyone who asked such inspiring questions. And as Ren already observed, there was tons of interesting comments, and people have been in complete awe of all three presentations, really. And I can just echo that sentiment, I think. Also, I know I can't speak for Maria Montessori because, sometimes people say, oh, Maria Montessori would have liked this, that, or the other. But I can say with some certainty that she would have been really impressed and really liked this because she was, innovation is something that drove her, and she was tremendously curious. So I'm quite sure that she would have been really impressed and would have loved this. You're all heading to Mexico, I think, to be part of the Congress in May. So many more people will be able to and enjoy being with you and learning from you. So it's from us, it's a big thank you to Munira, Pavan and the Blue Blocks Erdkinder. I don't know, you still going to be Erdkinder? But anyway, it's very good to hear that you're working on version 2. And appeal to our lovely audience. Look out for the next AMI talk. We keep on delivering these, but I think we might need your help a little bit in the sense that we would love to hear from you what kind of themes you find interesting. So we'd be very grateful if you just send us an email to our info address, and we'll be happy to see your comments and suggestions. Thank you to everyone who's made this possible, and thank you so much.